Are you ready to transform your normal e-commerce business into one that experiences exponential growth year after year using online advertising? If so, this show is for you. Me and my guests will show you how you too can grow your e-commerce business to 7 or even 8 figures so you can go on more luxurious vacations, spoil yourself and your family, say yes to more opportunities, and become financially free so you never have to worry about money again. Welcome to the e-commerce performance marketing show.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome to the Ecom Performance Marketing Show. My name is Josh Marsden, and I have an incredible episode for you today. So today I'm going to talk to you about how important it is to have a website that's optimized for page speed. See, page speed affects your conversion rates, which affects your sales. And if you don't have a really good page speed index on your website, you're losing sales. And that's why this episode is going to be very, very powerful for you, because if you can really optimize your page speed of your e-commerce store, you can instantly increase your conversion rates. This is like one of the low-hanging fruits in a lot of cases that we find when we help clients at my agency, CVO Acceleration. So this is something that you can do yourself, or you can hire others to do, that can make a big impact to the bottom line in your e-commerce business, which is your store's ability to keep people on the website. This way they convert into sales. So let me start by going over a few interesting stats here. So if your website takes more than 5.7 seconds to load, then you're probably around a 0.6% conversion rate or less, which is obviously terrible, right? If you're around a 4.2 second load speed, then you're probably less than 1% conversion rate. If you're at a 3.3 second page speed, that means you're probably around a 1.5% conversion rate. And if you're at 2.4 seconds when it comes to your page speed of your e-commerce site, you're probably around a 1.9% conversion rate. And this is all drawn from Cloudflare, which is a great network that we use for being able to speed up the load times of some of the funnels that we use with our clients or at our agency. It's a content delivery network. That's what I was trying to say a second ago when I goofed on my words there. So I definitely recommend like Cloudflare if you aren't on Shopify. Now, if you are on Shopify, then you're lucky, because Shopify has a built-in CDN relationship already. So when you have a Shopify e-commerce site or you're going to build one, you don't have to worry so much about trying to set up a content delivery network through, say, Cloudflare, which is what we use for non-Shopify websites. You actually can just go directly into building your Shopify site, or if you already have one, then you're in luck. You have Fastly. Fastly is the content delivery network, or CDN, that Shopify uses. So it's built in, which is great. So it's going to help you be able to have good, solid load speeds of your e-commerce store. However, you still have other things you need to do, even if you're on Shopify, to be able to have a healthy page speed. Now, the first thing you need to do is you need to go to one of these two services online. You need to go to Google Page Speed Insights, or you need to go to GT Metrics. Now, go to one of those, go to both even, type in your domain of your website, and then it's going to spit out basically a score. And the score is going to be for desktop, and it's going to be for mobile. And it's just like school. The closer you are to 100, the better your site is when it comes to page speed. And they give you a score for both desktop and mobile separately. Both of those services do. And on top of that, when you go to each of those websites to check your page speed, it's going to give you reports too. Reports on what you need to do to improve your page speed. So definitely do that. Go to those websites, to GT Metrics and also Google Page Speed Insights, and get those reports and check your score, because this is super important. Again, going back to the beginning of this episode, if you don't have an optimal page speed, you could be losing customers right now, which means you're losing sales. And if you're spending money on ads, that means that you're losing potential profit that you could be getting, because the clicks going to your site, you're losing more people than you should. So this is something, again, that can make a big impact to the bottom line in your business. So go to those two websites, check your scores on desktop and mobile, and get those reports. And whether you go through those reports and you implement what's recommended from those reports, or you have someone else do it, get it done, because this is going to make a big impact to the bottom line in your business, okay? And listen, it's not that hard to find people that can do this stuff for you. You can go to Facebook groups, you can go to agencies, you can also even go to Upwork or FreeUp and find like a freelancer that really specializes in optimizing e-commerce websites, or developers, web developers is really who you're looking for with a lot of these recommendations. So there's resources out there. There's people that can take care of this stuff for you. This way you don't have to put it on your shoulders. You're a business owner. You've got a ton of stuff already to do as it is, and you need to focus on your sweet spot, the stuff that you're really good at, not the stuff that you aren't really good at, or that you could figure out, but it's really not the best use of your time. Okay, you need to ditch that hero mentality and just delegate it and focus on your best stuff. Okay, and it's not that expensive either. So if you're bootstrapped, if you're just getting going early in e-commerce, this is something that's totally worth it to spend a little bit of money on. If you get a freelancer, it's not going to be that much, and it's going to make a big impact, because again, if you can bump up your page speed to 3 seconds or less, you're going to see like a significant gain in your conversions right then and there, just from that alone. Like typically e-commerce stores that are loading at 3 seconds or less are doing a 2 to 3% conversion rate. If you're less than that, then you'll hopefully be able to boost yourself up pretty quickly by just optimizing your page speed. Now, if you're around that and your page speed is terrible and you're doing like 5 seconds, 8 seconds, whatever the case may be, after you pull those reports from Google Page Speed Insights or GT Metrics, then you're going to get a gain there of 3% all the way to maybe 5 or 6% just by optimizing the page speed of your website and going through that report, or having someone do that for you. Now, here are some tips though. Here are some tips I definitely recommend kind of going through, but first and foremost, go get those reports from GT Metrics and Google Page Speed Insights. A lot of what I'm going to tell you is going to come from some of those reports, so I'm going to regurgitate basically what Google or GT Metrics are going to tell you when you go to pull those reports on the page speed of your website. Okay, so one thing you could do is you could reduce the size of the page by shrinking images, videos down to smaller file sizes without sacrificing quality. So what that means is basically, like if you have images on your product pages, for example, you can take those images and you can reduce them down to a smaller bit size, which is file size, and you can reload them onto the page, which is going to shrink the amount of data it takes for that page to load, which is going to increase the speed of that page loading. Same thing goes with video. With video, don't overdo it. Try not to use big file sizes for video. Try to use optimal file sizes for video when you have videos on your website, on your product pages, for example. Okay. That definitely makes a difference. And a tool that you can use is tinypng.com. If you were to upload an image file there, it will spit back to you a smaller file size for that same image file, and then you can use that to be able to upload it to your product page or wherever you're trying to optimize on your e-commerce site. Also, as I mentioned early on in this episode, set up a content distribution network if you're not on Shopify, because Shopify already has one built in, so you're good. It uses Fastly, as I mentioned in the beginning. But if you're on like WooCommerce, or if you're on BigCommerce, or you're on some e-commerce site I've never heard of and you're using it to build your e-commerce business, then check out Cloudflare. Cloudflare is highly recommended. We've been using it for years. It's a great content delivery network that will speed up the load times of your website. So I definitely recommend that you check out Cloudflare if that is you. Also, make sure that your website is optimized for SEO, technical SEO. So all your pages need to be using proper SEO techniques, meaning that you need to have a proper SEO title, a proper slug, which is the index. It's the end of your URL for each page. It's tied into the keywords of that specific page. So this way it ties into your SEO. Make sure that's done really well. Make sure your description also has some of your SEO words. And also your images too. Your images also should have tie-ins to the SEO words that you're using on that page, in addition to the text on the page. You don't want to keyword stuff. That's something that 10 years ago maybe worked, not anymore. But you definitely do want to have keywords in the page as well, so this way it's technically sound when it comes to SEO, because that's going to help people find your pages, and it's also going to help Google speed up your site too, since Google likes your site because you're optimizing your site for SEO. Also, focus on the mobile version of your pages on your website. Obviously, mobile is huge. I think we're probably now over 50% of visitors to any type of e-commerce website are coming from a mobile device. And so it is extremely important that you focus on a mobile view of your e-commerce site, not just desktop view. Luckily those two services that I led off with in this episode with GTmetrix and Google Page Speed Insights, they tell you the score on mobile in addition to desktop. So this way you can see how you're doing on a mobile, which is huge, because most of your traffic is going to come from mobile, especially if you're doing paid advertising. If you're doing Facebook ads, for example, most of the traffic from a Facebook ad campaign is going to come from mobile, because everybody's on a mobile on Facebook these days. So you definitely want to make sure that you are optimized for mobile. And here are some tips to do that. For one, you can condense images or remove images where you can on mobile. Like maybe on desktop you have more images than mobile for the same page, because on desktop it makes sense, you can get away with it, but on mobile, to speed up that page loading, maybe you need to cut back on the amount of photos and the amount of videos that you're using on a specific page. This way you could speed up this page speed on a mobile. Also use fewer images and more HTML tables. HTML tables is basically HTML code, which is it's web standard HTML5. It's basically HTML code that you can use. And using fewer images means that instead of using images, use HTML tables to be able to display what you're trying to display on that page. And a coder knows exactly what I'm talking about. So if you're not a coder, go get a coder, go talk to a coder about what I'm talking about, and they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Okay. Also, improve the usability via headers and sidebars. So when you're on a mobile, just try to simplify it. Just think about the user experience, and you really need to put yourself in the shoes of someone that's visiting your site on a mobile, and reduce what is happening on a mobile to the point where it's a very streamlined, simple experience. Simple is always better. Don't overcomplicate it, and that's what that's referring to. Also, embed content rather than directly uploading. I've seen novices do this quite a bit, where they'll upload images, upload videos directly to a site. Well, you don't need to do that. You want to upload it to like a Vimeo, for example, if you're using video. Or if you're using images, there's sites out there that also allow you to load images, and then just embed the image or embed the video on the page instead of uploading it and then inserting it directly through the CMS, which is the content management system, which is what Shopify is, or any other e-commerce building tool, Wix, BigCommerce, etc. Instead of loading images and videos, just embed them onto the page and utilize a third-party service to store those images and videos. That's going to really increase your load speed of your site, since it's not natively loading from your site. It's doing, it's actually displaying its code on that page, and it's letting another service be able to push that video or push that image directly to the page, which is going to just increase your page speed quite a bit and your website quite a bit. So some other tips that I have for you as well: implement a browser caching plugin. So there's a lot of them out there. For WordPress, I think W3 Cache is the one that we've used for a long time. So if you're on like WooCommerce, for example, that's a really good one to use. Now, if you're on Shopify has a lot in the marketplace. So just search for browser caching plugin, and you'll find a bunch of them. And just pick one that you feel like is ranked really well, is popular, has a lot of users, a lot of positive feedback, and use that one. You definitely want to have one of them on your site, because that definitely makes a big impact, since you're going to have repeat visitors to your store. And when you have repeat visitors to your store, it would be great if the cache is holding basically some of the code from your e-commerce site and recycling it instead of having to redisplay it over and over and over every time someone comes to your store. So those cache plugins really do make an impact because it allows people to load your store faster and faster each time they come back to it. And most of the time people do come back to it, whether it's new or whether it's returning. Okay, so keep that in mind. And then finally, condense all JavaScripts into one file with all JavaScripts. So this is a little technical, obviously. I mean, we're talking about code here, Java, right? Again, go get a web developer. Don't do this yourself. Don't try to figure this out yourself to waste your time, unless you're a programmer. Go get a programmer and ask them to go through your site and identify all the JavaScripts you're using on your site, and instead of them being on separate pages, have them condense all those JavaScripts into one page that your website will then pull from. It basically just makes it a simpler site to load. So this way, if you have several JavaScripts on your website and there's several different files though where those JavaScripts are being loaded from, well, that means that the computer, the server, has to like go to several different files to get those JavaScripts to load instead of just one file to get all those JavaScripts to load at the same time. And so that just makes it easier for the site to compute and be able to publish and show your e-commerce site up when someone visits your site. So hopefully I've done a good job of explaining that in layman's terms. But again, I'm not a developer whatsoever, and if you're not a developer either, then go get someone and have them do what I just told you, because it does make a big impact to your page speed. Okay, so from this episode, the best thing you can do right now is you can go get someone to help you with this, because page speed does make a big impact on the bottom line results in your e-commerce business. And it's one of those things too that is usually low-hanging fruit that can boost your store conversion by 1 or 2% very quickly when someone goes through the reports from GTmetrix or Google PageSpeed Insights and actually implements and takes action on all the recommendations from those reports from each of those services. A lot of what I told you comes from those reports. And those reports are going to be very personalized to your website too. So go do that. Take action right away. This way you can boost your store conversion by about 1 or 2% at least, just by improving your page speed. It's going to make a big impact to your bottom line, and you're going to love that you watched this episode and this ignited that action, because now I've given you more sales. So go do it right now and then come back for the next episode.
Thank you for tuning into the e-commerce performance marketing show. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment with a timestamp of your favorite part and share it with a friend. Until our next episode, here's to you and the success of your e-commerce business.